Hello, children. Today we are going to study the poem Quarrel. Quarrel means a heated argument or disagreement, typically about a trivial issue and between people who are usually on good terms. This poem depicts the relationship between brother and sister, their quarrels, their love and compassion with each other. As you all know, brother and sister relationship are like Tom and Jerry. They tease and irritate each other, knock each other down, but can't live without each other. Even though the time they drive you crazy, brothers and sisters become one of the most important relationship in your life. They have been with you through fights over toys, family vacations, graduations, and most of your major life events. And they will be there for whatever comes your way in the future. Brother and sister bond is always special, more than a sister and sister bond on brother and brotherhood. He or she is the first friend of whom we can share so many things. First reason is brother and sister always fight for silly reason than anyone. I wouldn't say it is stronger, but your family is where you first learn about how a relationship between the two is supposed to look. A brother naturally takes on the protector and provider role, and the sister naturally takes on the role of the nurturer. When there is no hostility, this bond showcases what a pure relationship between the divine masculine and divine feminine can really look like. No ego, no ulterior motives, just natural, free flowing, giving and receiving love. Was the poem written by the Eleanor Farazon. This is the first person narrative poem. The poet as a child quarreled with her brother. In childhood, the quarrel is the common between brothers and sisters and with playmates. Even they do not know why they were quarreling. During quarrel, both argue and it led one thing to other. The quarrel started for a small thing. At the end, the reason was strong. Both didn't agree to compromise. Her brother said he was right, but the poet believed that he was wrong. Both hated one another. The afternoon was wasted and turned into black. After some time, her brother patted on her back and said that he was strong and gave up their quarrel. So author felt that now she was right.
Quarreled with my brother. I don't know what about. One thing led to another, and somehow we fell out. The start of it was slight. The end of it was strong. He said he was right. I knew he was wrong. We hated one another. The afternoon turned black. Then suddenly my brother thumped me on the back and said, "Oh, come along. We can't go on all night. I was in the wrong." So he was in the right.
Before reading an explanation of the poem The Quarrel, we should know about the poetess. Eleanor Farrion was an English author of children's stories and plays, poetry, biography, history, and satire. Several of her work had illustrations by Edward Addison. Some of her correspondence was also being published. She was born 13 February 1881, Standard London, United Kingdom. As you all know, poet and celebrated children's book writer Eleanor Farazone was born into an artistic family. Her father was a novelist and her mother was a daughter of the American actor Joseph Safran's. Fanon family home was literary and artistic hub, though she never received a formal education. Farion was tremendously influenced by the creative energy around her, an experience she recounted in her best selling memory, A Nursery in the 90s. In the book, Farion depicts herself as a dreamy child. Her father's death when she was 22 meant she had to begin to write to earn a living. Farion's first book were intended for adult. The collection of the poem Pan Worship, Other Poems, The Soul of Cole Nicole, a fantasy novel inspired by the Celtic Twilight movement. Farion developed a close friendship with the poet Edward Thomas during these years, and after his death in World War I, published a book detailing his importance to her growth as a writer and vice versa. Eleanor Farion, 34 poems like this: A Kitten, Angelic Chorus, Bat King John, Bedtime, Blind Alley, Books, Cat, Cat Sleeps Anywhere, Easter Monday, In a Far Land Upon a Day. It was long ago. Jessica Dances, Little Christ Jesus, Mary's Burden, Morning Has Broken, Nicholas, Now Every Child, Now That You Too, Peace, Poetry, Rules, Six Green Singers, Sometimes, The Night Will Never Stay the Choral. In this poem, Eleanor Forzen has described generally brothers and sisters quarrel with each other. It is a very common situation. Many times they quarrel with each other without any reason. Their quarrel begin over very small, petty issues, and how with a small kind act the quarrel end. It is very mystic and beautiful. So let's read this poem to feel the same. I quarreled with my brother. I don't know what about. One thing led to another, and somehow we fell out. The start of it was slight, the end of it was strong. He said he was right, I knew he was wrong. He ate it one another, the afternoon turned black. Then suddenly my brother thumped me on the back and said, Oh, come along, we can't go on all night. I was in the wrong, so he was in the right. The poet is trying to explain how a quarrel between two brothers began and ended without any reason. The poet says that he quarreled with his brother over something and he was not even aware why he was quarreling about. One thing was giving way to another, and while fighting, both of them fell down. Initially, it was a small, petty issue, but gradually it became serious. The poet was claiming to be a right, whereas at heart, he knew that he was wrong. Both of them didn't like one another. In the afternoon, something went wrong. Then suddenly his brother hit him on the back and asked him to come along, and it is not possible or right to linger the issue throughout the night. He also claimed to be on the wrong side. So he was actually right. It showed his generosity. I quarreled with my brother. I don't know what about. One thing led to another, and somehow we fell out. The start of it was slight, the end of it was strong. He said he was right. I knew he was wrong. Now, very beautifully, the poetess tell us, I quarreled with my brother. The poet had a fight with his brother. Both of them were fighting and were not even aware of the cause of the fight was. The fight was happening because of a series of things. One thing was giving way to another. While fighting, both fell down in the beginning. The fight was modest and was not very serious, but gradually it grew intense and became a serious issue. His brother said that he was right, whereas the narrator or poetess was thinking himself on the right side. Now, here in this paragraph, we can find the word slight. The meaning of the slight is modest or small. Quarrel means fight or fight. Let's move to the next stanza. He hated one another. The afternoon turned black. Then suddenly my brother thumped me on the back and said, Oh, come along. We can't go on all night. I was in the wrong, so he was in the right. So here we can see the next part, the next stanza of this poem. In the noon, the fight became serious and both started hating each other. They didn't like one another. All of a sudden, Poet's brother hit him on the back and asked him to get along as it was not the right thing to pull the matter throughout the night. He also declared humbly that he was wrong, which proved his generosity. This moved the poet's heart, and he realized that he was in the right. And this moved the poet's heart that he realized that he was wrong also. Yeah, we can see few new words. First is thumped. Thumped means hit, and turned black. Turned black means to become unpleasant. Let's write the word meaning of this poem. Slight. Slight means small, modest. Quarrels. Quarrel means fought or second form of the verb for fight. Third word is thumped. Thumped means hit. Turn black. Turn black means to become unpleasant. This poem, The Quarrel, is about the quarrel between the siblings. The poet talks about the love hidden behind the quarreling of the siblings. They fight with each other, but they cannot live without each other. In the poem, the poet speaks about the quarrel between him and his brother. The poet quarreled with her brother. She is not sure what the reason of the quarrel was about. From one thing to other, the quarrel started, and the quarrel to the utmost when the quarrel started it was slight, and when it ended it was very violent and strong. According to the poet, her brother demanded himself to be right, but she knew that he was wrong. And in second paragraph, we can see after the quarrel, they started to hate each other, and the afternoon turned out to be black one. Then her brother took the initiative to assuage the quarrel. He thumped on the back of the her and said that he was wrong and they should not go on fighting anymore. And thus he did the right work at last. This is the summary of two paragraphs, two stanzas. Now let's move to the working with the poem. Working with the poems means we have to find out the answers from the dictionary and we have to find out the answers from the poem also. With your partner, try to guess the meaning of the underlined phrases. So you have to discuss with your partner and find out the meaning of these phrases. First is, and somehow he fell out. The first word is fell out. The first word is we fell out. Fell out means started quarreling. Started quarreling. Second is the afternoon turned black. Turned black means night came. So you should write in your copy. And somehow we fell out. The fell out means started quarreling. And the second is the afternoon turned black. It means night came. In second exercise, read these lines from the poem. First is one thing led to another. Second, the start of it was slight. Third, the end of his was strong. The fourth is the afternoon turned black. Fifth is thumped me on the back. So we have to read out from the poem. The first is one thing led to another. Here we can see one thing led to another. It means one reason led to another reason. 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 Now let's move to the second line. The second line is the start of it was slight. Here we can see the start of it was slight. The answer we can write like this. The quarrel was started on the small issue. The quarrel was started on small issue. The quarrel was started on a small issue. The start of it was slight. The quarrel was started on a small issue. This is the answer. Let's move to the third line. The end of it was strong. The end of it was strong. Here we can see the end of it was strong. It means the end turned into a big fight. The end turned into a big fight. The end turned into a big fight. This is the answer. The end of it was strong. Strong means it's a big, strong. So the end turned into a big fight. So let's move to the fourth line. The afternoon turns black. The afternoon turned black. The second stanza we can find this. The afternoon turned black. It means afternoon passed and night came, but their fight continued. Afternoon passed. Afternoon passed. It means over. And night came, but their fight continued. But their fight continue. This is the meaning of the afternoon turned black. It means dull or very, you can say very sad. Afternoon passed and night came, but their fight continued. So they are still fighting. Let's move to the next line. Thumped me on the back. Thumped means hit. Thumped me on the back. So thumped me on the back. Thumped means hit. Hit me on the back. It means the quarrel is going on. The quarrel is going on. So here we can write the quarrel. The quarrel. So this is the quarrel is going on. Thumped me, hit me on the back. So here from this line we can understand that the quarrel is going on. They are fighting each other. Now third question is, describe a recent quarrel that you have had with your brother, sister or friend. How did it start? What did you quarrel about? How did it end? So you have to write your own experience or whatever you are doing at your home with your siblings. So you can write here. Some question about this poem we can ask, how did the quarrel start? In the first paragraph, you can see the quarrel started on a pretty things. The quarrel start on the pretty things. One thing led to another and somehow we fell out. So it start with a very pretty thing. Next question, how did the quarrel end? How did the quarrel end? The quarrel ended in a friendly way. In the last stanza, we can see the last line, it was, I was in wrong, so he was in the right. Now, here we can see they end the quarrel in a very friendly way. So, the quarrel ended in a friendly way. How did they differ? They differed as each one said to be right. What are the differences between the two? So we can say they differed as each one said to be right. Now the next question is, who quarrel in this poem? The poet and her brother quarrel in the poem. Now the next question, what does the poet mean by the saying, the start of it was slight, the end it was strong? The start of it was slight means beginning was with a very small and petty things, very ignorable things, but the end of it was strong means finally it became a big issue. The afternoon turned black means something went wrong and unpleasant in the afternoon. And the next question, how was the afternoon after the quarrel? After the quarrel, they started to hate each other, and the afternoon turned out to be black one. Then her brother took the initiative to assuage the quarrel. He thumped on the back of her and said that he was wrong and they should not go on fighting anymore. And thus he did the right work at last. Now, why did the brother say that the afternoon turned black? Now, we have already seen the answer. The phrase afternoon turned black is from the poem The Quarrel, written by the Eleanor Farizon. The conversation was between the girl and her brother. Their quarrel coincided from the afternoon until night. The afternoon turned black means that the fight that has started in the afternoon has not ended till night. Now the main question, I think it is, what message does the poem The Quarrel give? What is the moral of this poem? The poem The Quarrel is about the quarrel between the siblings. The poet talks about to love hidden behind the quarreling of the sibling. They fight with each other, but they cannot live without each other.
The Quarrel poem by Eleanor Fargian. I quarreled with my brother. I don't know what about. One thing led to another and somehow we fell out. The start of it was slight. The end of it was strong. He said he was right. I knew he was wrong. We hated one another. The afternoon turned black. Then suddenly my brother thumped me on the back and said, "Oh, come on. We can't go on all night. I was in the wrong. So he was in the right." There is a great message in this simple poem. Most of the time the issues on which differences grow can be very insignificant, but it's because of our stubborn nature and ego that leads to conflicts. In this poem, The Quarrel, the poetess argued with her brother over something which could be easily ignored. But in the end the argument became so strong that it turned into a big fight, which continued for the whole day. Both of them thought that they were right. Later, the brother realizes that his sister is more important to him than anything else and decides to mend things. Wouldn't it be nice if there were more people in the world like him? who kill their ego in order to bring peace. Gandhi quoted, "It is unwise to be too sure of one's own wisdom. It is healthy to be reminded that the strongest might weaken and the wisest might err." Take care and see you soon.